Detective Smith. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. My name is Nick Smith. I'm a detective with the New Milford Police Department, and I was hired in November of 2000. So I've been here almost 22 years.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome.
Thank you. And I started off as a patrol officer, and I've been lucky enough to do a lot of different tasks within the police department. So I'm on the crash reconstruction team. So any serious or fatal crashes I go to as a team and we investigate. I've been a field training officer, so I got to teach new officers when they get out of the police academy. I was on the scuba team for a few years, which was
Wow.
very interesting.
Yeah.
And let's see, I was a car seat technician, so that was fun, and getting to see the little kids and put the car seats in. And I was a school resource officer for about 6 years. So I was in each of the schools here at Pettibone, and I've been at Hill and Plain and Sarah Noble and Northville and the high school and Scotticoke. So a lot of good experiences. I've been lucky enough to wear a lot of different hats within the agency.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's a big range under the same department.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
And we know that you did a presentation for the youth agency before, so is there any key points you'd like to share from that?
Yeah, it was a very good presentation I did with Detective Sergeant Relier. So her and I gave an online presentation. It was about online safety. And one of the big takeaways, the internet can be a great tool, and it can be used for many amazing things and doing your schoolwork and finding more information out about things, but you can get yourself into some trouble with the internet. So one of the big things that we were talking about was always think before you hit send. That's a very important thing, because once you send a message or a picture, you can't get it back. So you always got to think before you hit send. And so, like I said, the internet can be great, but you got to worry about your safety and privacy too. Sometimes there's people out there that aren't who they say they are, and they could be trying to take advantage of kids or trying to gain information from you. So just be cognizant of that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, what do you think are some of the most dangerous things surrounding social media?
All right, so we have had even in New Milford here, we've had some situations where people, say from here or other communities, they meet somebody online who says, I'm a 16-year-old and I live in New York, but really they could be a 45-year-old from Indiana, say, so you don't really know who people are when you talk to them online. Another thing is we've had situations like this here too in our community and across the country it's happening, but people send pictures, kind of inappropriate pictures that they shouldn't really be sending out, and then those pictures get shared or they get blackmailed and say, if you don't send me more pictures, I'm going to send these to all your contacts or your family, and or if you don't send me money. So things like that could be dangerous with social media, or you can get stalked if you share your location and things like that. People can find out where you are if you don't put your settings on private, then really anybody could see information about you. So that's one of the things to worry about.
Yeah, and if you don't read the fine print, there's so many things that could end up. But I mean, I know you talked about this a little bit, but what are some specific trends that you see locally with these dangers, or just with the internet in general?
Yeah, sometimes people post things that may get them in trouble in terms of inappropriate things, or say threatening things that in the moment they're upset about something, and so they post it and now it's out there and other people see it, and they end up getting in trouble for it. So that's why I always stress, before you hit send on a message, always think about how it would look when it's out there. When you're doing things, always kind of think, when I was getting a master's degree at WestCon, and one of the professors, it was an ethics class, and so he talked about, before you do something, think, how would this look in the newspaper? Or how would your chief think if he found out about this? Would you want this out there on the internet? Things like that. So just kind of a guide, just remember, things when you post it, it's out there forever,
Yeah.
And the pictures, we've seen that with people here, sending pictures that they probably shouldn't send. And so I know when I was at Scotticoke as an SRO, we would have this conversation with students that, if you're under the age of 16, you can't be sending pictures out of, any nudity or things like that. You can actually get in trouble for disseminating child pornography for transmitting. So just something, people got to keep in mind. You shouldn't be doing it anyway, because then those pictures are out there, but and it could surface later in life, which we've had happen to people. But also just it's illegal too, so they can get arrested for that. So I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't know how serious these things can be. And so what do you think are some of the steps that need to be taken to protect and educate young people about online
Yep.
dangers?
Oh, that's a great idea. So I think education, like we're doing here, getting the word out to people about what's safe and what's not safe and what's legal and what's not legal. And then also parents understanding more. Like we had a online safety kind of a meeting a couple weeks ago at the Max, and we had a lot of parents come out and wanted to learn more about online safety, how to keep their kids safe. So just things like that. They gained a lot of information at the end of the presentation. A lot of them were like, "This was great. I learned a lot." Just having parents get more involved, and also letting the kids know that if they do get themselves into a little bit of trouble where they, think they did something they probably shouldn't have done, to let parents know, or a teacher or a trusted adult, just so they can kind of get ahead of things before, spirals. So just they, feel comfortable enough to let somebody know if, they did make a mistake.
Mhm.
But definitely knowledge and information.
Yeah, that's incredibly important. But I mean, you were also sort of talking about the parental role, but do you think that what should the role be in parents like restricting social media usage?
Yeah, I think because I know you usually have to be at least 13 to get certain access to like Instagram or Snapchat, things like that.
Yeah.
So, but the parents, there are parental controls that they can set, whether it's on the device itself or the settings of the software. So I think it's a good idea for them to just be aware of what their children are doing online. A lot of times they say to keep devices or the laptop or computer in a central location. So say it's in the living room or the kitchen, somewhere where they can kind of monitor what goes on. Just have talks with their children about what is appropriate or inappropriate. There's a resource that I actually use. It's called Screenagers, and so you get email updates and stuff like that. And I've gotten a lot of good information from there from handling my own kids with social media devices.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never heard of that app before.
Yep. So it's there's a lot of good ones out there, but that's one that I've used is Screenagers.
Yeah. And do you think this is sort of similar to that a little bit? Do you think that parents should be like looking through their kids' phones?
Yeah, like I know with my own child, when we gave her a phone, we said this was part of the deal,
Yeah.
So we're gonna be random spot checks kind of, but
Mhm.
and then as you gain trust, obviously you can kind of taper off of that. But I think it's important because a lot of the cases I work where kids are doing things with their phones or devices that they shouldn't be doing, the parents have no idea. So it's good to and then also just kind of a two-way street with communication. Hopefully the kids feel comfortable enough with the parents to let them know something's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And what should teens really do if they find themselves in a dangerous situation online that they were not expecting to be in, or they just went too far and they don't know what to do?
Yeah, great question. So definitely tell a trusted adult. And if you find out, say your friend, we've had a lot of cases where luckily a friend stepped forward and said, my friend did X, Y, Z, and they need help, and they've come forward and we've been able to step in. But so definitely tell an adult. And one of the great things about the internet or devices is there's a trail of everything, digitally. So we're allowed to, we can go back and access information or data from the phones. So you can take screenshots of, say, messages or things like that. That's always important. It'll help us. But so I would say, save any digital information by taking screenshots or pictures or printing, and you can always block somebody too. But definitely, if you get yourself in trouble, tell an adult, either a teacher or a parent or guardian or a coach. Anybody that they'll be able to help you get out of it. And you can always come to the police department. So.
Yeah.
And with the schools, the high school and the middle school have SROs, so the students have access pretty quick to the police. But they can always make a report, and sometimes even if they don't want an arrest made, sometimes it's good just to document, what happened, so it's on record.
Yeah.
But those are good options,
Yeah. I mean, this is sort of with the police can search through the phones and look at things. With apps like Snapchat, or where like things can be deleted or like disappear, do they really disappear, or
sometimes we're able to
possible?
get it back on
Yeah.
apps like Snapchat. Sometimes it is difficult to get it back, but we have Cellbrite technology at the police department, and then also we have access to the forensic lab at the state, so we can send devices to the state lab, or we actually have had cases where things have gone to the FBI, for forensic download and examination. So things, even if it's deleted, it's not really deleted, but sometimes it is difficult to get things back from Snapchat. But it is, I've had it happen where we have, have gotten things back. So
Yeah. And this is sort of going into another realm, but can you tell us more about the laws surrounding, online bullying or and online trafficking? They're sort of different topics, but
Yep.
yeah.
So, and there's been a very big push lately about human trafficking awareness. It is something that does happen in the state and in this area. There are human trafficking cases. So we've had a lot of training. Even we're all like I'm the emergency medical technician, but all of the officers are at least MRTs. So basically, now the state has pushed a lot of human trafficking awareness and training. There's laws that, it can encompass all sorts of things, from basically like online solicitation of minors or exploitation. It depends on what the specific conduct is, but there's a lot of laws that surround it. But luckily, there is a lot more awareness and a lot more training. Even people like at hotels, they've been going out and doing training and stuff like that, kind of, to help with awareness. And bullying in and of itself is not a crime, but the conduct, whatever specific conduct encompasses the bullying, like if it's threatening, that's a crime. If it's harassment, say via phone or through an electronic device, the harassment's a crime. So it depends on what the specific conduct is. But the important thing with bullying is letting somebody know, and that's like I was saying before that, you have evidence now of, say you're getting, threatening texts or mean texts or people, you're in a string of texts, now that's all evidence. Take screenshots of it and save it and let somebody know. And a lot of times, even if you don't want the person in trouble and you just want it to stop, you tell an adult or tell the police, we can take some action. And, because that is something that the town is taking very seriously as bullying. So we have kind of like a task force, a group that meets. So it's Parks and Rec, Youth Agency, the mayor, and the police department have been meeting. So we are trying to take steps to curb that and prevent it and bring awareness to it.
Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, it's good.
Very serious.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, and I know with this is more on social media online, but how you can like report and block people
Yep.
on Snapchat, like on ad. Is there like a point when none of that works? Like, do you think kids know when to take it to real life, or do you think they really like keep it private on their phones and try to just restrict it as much as they can?
I think sometimes they do that. Some of the kids, they try to handle it on their own, but it does, it can cause a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. And I've had cases where, the kid does not want to go to school anymore because of bullying. So it's just, we don't want to see that, obviously. So, just feel comfortable enough to let somebody know, let a parent or teacher or coach or somebody know, a friend, and hopefully friends are reaching out, hopefully friends are helping them out, but a friend can always come forward too to a teacher or a parent or, like I said, that's how we get a lot of our cases is luckily friends, step up and say something needs to be done and they want to help their friend out. So let us know.
Yeah, it's very important to check in on your friends and also not be afraid to tell people because that can help a lot in that situation.
Definitely.
And this is going more back towards trafficking, I think, but what are like the real dangers of having your location on for apps? Because sometimes you don't even know your location's on until like it notifies you.
Exactly.
And,
So that's it's very important because people obviously will know where you are, at all times. So it's important to keep your geolocation off. Share it with your parents, things like that. But you don't want just everybody knowing, where you are. I had a case where a woman, she had a restraining order against a person, and she was at the Danbury Mall, and the guy showed up there. But that's how we knew it was on Snapchat. She had her location, so he had showed up at the mall looking for her, because he was able to see it on there. And a few years ago, also through pictures, there's metadata in the pictures. So like a lot of times you can right click on the picture and get properties of it. So Detective Sergeant Relier a few years ago did an online safety presentation. And it was very interesting because she just randomly, in front of the whole audience, we did it at the high school, and she went online and she just started searching through profiles, that were made public. So she found this one high school girl, clicked on the picture. She knew nothing about this girl. she started clicking through all the pictures, and she was able to say, okay, this girl lives in this city. She drives this kind of car, because there was pictures of her in the car. There was the girl ran track, so she was able to Google then the high school and the track schedule. So she was like, okay, at this time, this is where this girl's gonna be, But so it's a lot of just through locations and through the metadata. So it was freaky,
Yeah,
It's very eye opening too.
terrifying too.
So it can be dangerous.
Yeah, very dangerous. Is there anything you know of that you can do to make your accounts on social media more secure and safe to protect yourself?
Yep. So it's a good idea to make your accounts private so that you don't want everything out there. You got to have strong passwords, and don't ever share your password with people. But so even if you got to add some alphanumeric characters, and keep changing it up. And then also be careful of what information you share online. If it's not a picture or information you would want to give a stranger, then don't post it. Even things like we're leaving for vacation in a couple days. I can't wait. Now people know that nobody's going to be at your house, and so just always be cognizant of things that you post.
Yeah. We really have to be careful because anyone can find anything.
Yeah.
And how old do you think? This is more broad, but how old do you think people should be until they're like given devices like phones? Because obviously phones in and of itself is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Social media, but it's really like there's a whole freedom that comes with it.
I agree. And obviously there's a lot of great benefits to having a phone. People can get a hold of you whenever they need you. If you have an emergency, you can get a hold of your parents, So there's a lot of great benefits to it. But so I think individually it depends on the maturity of the kid, it depends on the different situations, if they need a phone, there are still phones that don't have, they're not a smartphone or, so you can't really, do much with apps or data on them. But I really think a lot of that is individual with how mature the kid is, but obviously there's some great pros, but there's also cons with getting your device. And a lot of it is the parents too, having conversations with the kid about what's expected, and if you don't follow rules, you're gonna lose the phone, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, really, it can be like very specific. Like I know I got my phone going into high school, and my sister's going to high school. It just seems like she's so young.
Yeah.
But that's really how it is now. There are kids so young, and they have access to these apps. And if the parents don't check their phones regularly, they won't know. And also, since parents most times don't really know about the social media apps that younger kids are using, they won't know the dangers of it. And so their kids can be in so many situations where it's like they wouldn't even have any idea. Like I know websites like Omegle.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Can that be really dangerous?
Yeah, like Discord. I've seen some cases with Discord where people had no bad intentions, just went on there and then immediately were people immediately came upon them and were saying really inappropriate things, and and so a lot of times too the kids aren't trying to do anything wrong. They so they do a Google search, an innocent search, and it leads them to a not so innocent website. I mean, a lot of times there's just so much information, and it's very easy to get, so it's easy to get yourself in trouble even if you don't mean to be.
Yeah. It's just it goes so deep, like really fast.
Yeah.
But is there like what are the dangers surrounding online gaming? This is sort of another realm as well, but usually on websites and such.
Yep. And so obviously that's a great thing too, and it's there's a lot of great aspects to gaming, but it's the same thing with social media. And a lot of times they say like that, if people are looking to be a predator, they're going to go to places where they can find kids, like online gaming, and that's where they'll prey upon them. And then a lot of times it's easier because then they can they build some rapport, or they start joining the person in the game, and they could even say, oh, I'm 15 too, I go to high school, and wherever, and they start talking and start building some camaraderie. But so it's just, it could be very dangerous. And then what you post, any information you post, or I think people can go in and look at what games you played, so then they kind of can build rapport that way. Yep. And we did have we've had some cases where we've had a lot of bullying, like while people are playing online through the headsets and things like that. It can get pretty heated. So I know like those parents in particular kept the gaming systems within, where they could see what was going on and hear what was going on. But So those are some of the dangers, very similar to social media. You can get access to predators, and information can get stolen, cyberbullying, stuff like that. But definitely tell an adult if something like that is going on.
Yeah, for sure. You have to. It just has to be. It seems like the parent-child relationship has to be where they can really like keep an eye on them
Yeah,
and check and make sure they're staying safe.
exactly. Yep.
But what do you think the role of school should be in educating students about this? Because it's relatively new issues,
Mhm.
so they haven't really like had much experience, but it's so prevalent.
Yep, and I think it's important for the schools to get involved. And remember, when I was an SRO at Scaticoke, we would have kind of assemblies and talk about, sexting and online safety and things like that. I think it's very important. A lot of times, some of the kids don't know this, but even if you do something at home, if it impacts the school environment, you can still get in trouble with the school, even if you didn't do it at school. So a lot of people didn't realize that, and then they get in trouble at school, and they're like, "But I was at home when this happened." But if it impacts the school environment, it can get you in trouble at school. So I think it is important for the school to step in and just tell kids what the boundaries are, and how to be safe and what the rules are. It's important.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know there have been instances at our school where
Yeah.
stuff online has really impacted it and the environment, and it seems, I mean, police have gotten involved, and it seems not easy, but people don't realize that they can be found and that they can be tracked and get in trouble, and hiding behind a screen doesn't protect you.
Exactly. Yeah, we have a lot of cases where people think they're anonymous, and they have screen names or usernames or email addresses, and we do search warrants, and end up finding out who the people are. So it's not hard.
Yeah, so no matter which side you're on, if you're more like going after people, or if you're just trying to stay safe and getting yourself in trouble, you can be found, and the other person can. So
Exactly.
you can't really hide from the internet
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's, always keep that in mind, and that's why I always tell people, just think before you hit send. And,
Yes.
You can't get that message back. Is that something you want out there? And then just always remember, the victim can take a picture or a screenshot, but when you send that, obviously, remember the person you sent it to can screenshot it, show the principal or your parent or the police. So always just keep that in mind.
Yeah. And do you have any more questions? Or?
Yeah, so after a while, when a kid's using like social media and stuff, and they are getting towards like the end of high school, when do you think a good time to take away parental controls would be? Would it be like when they're 18, or what do you think?
That's a good question, because eventually, we go out into the world, and we have less and less, our parents kind of keeping an eye on us, and we have to make better decisions on our own. But so I think that is another one where it's individual, like in terms of the maturity of the person. But that is a good question. Around the age of 18, you need to, eventually be, but hopefully learning these skills as you're growing, and so you can make good decisions. And we all make mistakes. So if you get yourself into some trouble, make sure you let somebody know. So that a lot of times you can get ahead of things, and they help out. So, but so just try to make good decisions, and if you make a mistake, learn from it. Move forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's very important. Do you think, where can we find more resources or information about these topics, or if we need help or if students need help, where can they go?
All right, so you can always go to the police or your SRO, but the website I use when I do these presentations, I use netsmartskids.org, and smarts has a Z at the end. So netsmartskids.org. That's a great source for online safety resources. And then also stopbullying.gov is another website that I get material from for presentations. So those are both really good resources to look at.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem, guys. Thank you very much.